Okay, it is my honor and privilege to introduce to this evening's speaker, Sergeant Major Jon Cavaiani, retired. Jon Cavaiani was born in Murphy's Island in central England in 1943. He came to the United States in 1947 and in 1953 moved to the small farming community of Vallejo, California to be with his stepfather, Ugo Cavaiani. In 1961, Ugo formally adopted Jon and in 1968 became a naturalized citizen of the United States. Jon Cavaiani joined the U.S. Army in 1969. He volunteered for Special Forces, where he spent the next 17 years. Cavaiani was awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions while a platoon leader in an isolated radio relay site deep in enemy territory. Jon was serving with the Studies and Operations Group, SOG, an elite reconnaissance unit, when he was written up for the Medal of Honor for his actions on 4 and 5 June 1971 in Vietnam. 11 days after this action, wounded and still trying to evade the enemy, Jon was captured and spent the next 23 months as a prisoner of war in North Vietnam. His other assignments included tours in the Middle East, South America, Europe, and Southeast Asia. Jon spent 3 years in Berlin, Germany, as a senior operations sergeant major for British, French, and U.S. forces. He was selected and assigned to the United States' most elite counter-terrorist force. Upon retiring, Jon has made time available to serve as the 6th Region Director of the Congressional Medal of Honor Society. Cavaiani recently graduated with honors from the Culinary Arts Program in Columbia, California, where he and his daughter and his wife, Barbara, live. Jon has 3 grandsons and 2 granddaughters. Among his numerous awards and decorations are the nation's highest award for valor, the Army Medal of Honor, the Legion of Valor, Legion of Merit, Bronze Star Medal for Valor, Purple Heart with oak leaf clusters. Jon was a free fall and static climb jump master and has over 5,000 jumps all over the world. I asked him about that 5,000 jumps, and he assures me none of them are recreational, they're all for business. So I'd like you to join me in welcoming Mr. Cavaiani.
Thank you very much. Well, as he said, I was born in Ireland, and it's God's country. Thank God that we don't have the problems they're having right now. First off, I'd like to thank all those young men and women that are defending our nation on a daily basis, that we have the rights to do those things that we're doing now, taking advantage of voting. While in the service, my feelings were always, I will stand and die for that guy's right to get up on a box and say everything I hate clear to the guts. But I will defend his right to do so. And we here in America, you have no idea how lucky we are. Many of these supposed democracies around the world don't offer a half the freedoms that we have. So you can thank your lucky stars you were either born in the right country or you came to the right country. I'm first generation. I was one of these guys that wanted to get in the service when I was in college in 1962. And they came back and said, you're 4F. 4F politely meant they'd take your mother before they'd take you. Kept trying to get into the military, 4F, 4F, 4F. Finally one day in 1968, I kind of had a doctor by the left one and the right one. A couple of people that he claimed were 4F that were from affluent families. And I told him I bet selective services I'd check these boys out. And he says, what do you mean? And I said, like I said, I'll talk selective service and they'll check these guys out. He goes, what do you want? And I said, in. And the day I got in, they gave me a bee sting kit, and I never got stung once my entire time. Went to Vietnam, Got up there as a Special Forces medic, heavy and light weapons man. They made me, as the Army always does, veterinarian and agricultural advisor for ICOR, northern part of South Vietnam. I did that for about 7 months, lost an orphanage, all the kids that I supported in this orphanage, so I kind of went to a different unit. Primary mission, running reconnaissance, North Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. Well, I kept every time it was time to go home, they'd say, don't worry, John, we're giving this guy your team, and I would walk across the street with the individual, and I'd stay. So I just kept staying, and then finally my commander comes up and he makes me a captain. But he had E6 stripes in the other hand, so I took the E6 stripes. And he says, don't worry, you're taking command of the hill either way. So I went up and took over Hickory. Unfortunately, got hit by a reinforced regiment, and managed to get most everybody evacuated, and they said, get on the last helicopter. I said, I got 17 little people here, and I don't leave anybody behind. They bleed just like I do. So I stayed behind, covered their retreat when we were finally knew we were going to be overrun. Ended up getting captured 11 days later, went up north, spent a couple of years. Real nice sounding places, the Plantation Gardens, the Hanoi Hilton. D1, it didn't have much of a personality. The zoo, everybody loves the zoo. And it didn't work out too good. I got captured 197 pounds, 5'10" and a half. And I got out of it 98 pounds, and I was 5'7" and a half. So changed my attitude about life a little bit. Come back, my father says, hey, why don't you come on down and pick up another 600 acres of crops, and you can farm. And I said, you know, I learned a lot. Learned a lot of things that might keep some young soldier alive. So that was my choice. I went back in. Like I said, Special Forces for quite a number of years. Delta Force 2 times. First time got blown up real bad, 3.5 years in gas. Next time I went back, I had the long-haired squadron. And finally said, I can't outrun my young gazelles anymore, it's time to get the hell out of the way. But every one of these young men and women who are over there defending our nation are defending our way of life. It is not their choice to go. Everybody wants to call them warmongers. Well, why don't you go back on the individuals who said they're going? They're the deterrent. Whenever our government says we are going to deploy them, they are that deterrent for peace, not for war. Everybody has this misconception. They all go out and we all pray for peace, and we pray that we come back. Some of them come back like me, a little bit screwed up in the head, live life through chemistry, have ever since Vietnam. A lot of these kids are coming back now. They play it down and all that suicide rate. They average 14 out of 100,000 committing suicide when they get home. The traumatic head injuries that they would have died of in Vietnam, now we treat them. All because of IEDs. These young men and women are over there defending us, and it is men and women. I've been to hospitals and seen guys with heads that kind of look like a banana sideways. I've seen young women in that same boat. Hey, they're doing it for your freedom and for my freedom. And we produce some of the finest soldiers in the world, officers and NCOs. And I guess what I'd like to do, well, I get upset when I look at our national, since 1980, 52.6% of the people vote in every damn election. And that's on a good year, that's a presidential year. It's a travesty. What the hell are we out there fighting freedom for when people don't want to avail themselves of that? That's what makes sense to me. Because we all have an obligation. I have lots of obligations that I don't necessarily want. But we all have an obligation to speak our mind and put it to paper and say who we want to be elected. So regardless which way the elections go, I'm never satisfied because we can only do 52.6%. I have a poem I'd like to read to you, and it's real important. It was done by Jon Cavaiani and at the Arlington. And it's called How to Grow a Patriot. A patriot is a person who loves his country, supports his country, and defends his country. Patriots are great to have around when their going gets rough. So let's all go out and find some patriots. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. You can't take a pill and become a patriot. You can't stamp out a patriots on the assembly line, like tanks or planes or guns. You can't legislate patriotism. It turns the kids off. Also, you can't expect our schools or our churches or the government itself to mold our patriots. Well, at least it's not working out that way. Patriotism, it seems to us, is something that needs to be passed along from one generation to the next, in the home of the folks who are in the best position to do the job, the mothers, the fathers, the next of kin. Unfortunately, this isn't what's been happening. Those of us who fall into this category have relegated the jobs of growing our patriots to people who frankly aren't getting the job done. And time is running out. So maybe the time has come to put some patriotism into our parenthood. First, find a young American, someone about 8, 10. Your son, grandson, or the young girl next door will do. Next, clear up any misconceptions they might have about demanding their freedom without working for it. Make sure they learn why it is the great-grandpa came over here in the first place and what he had to do to survive after he left Ellis Island, and how he felt about America the day his papers came through. Let him know how you feel when the flag goes by, why you didn't skip town when the chips were down in 42, 51, 63, and now. And why you wouldn't now. Even though you might not always agree with your Uncle Sam, let him be aware of how we've all had to earn our freedoms over and over again. And while we might not relish the task, why we will likely have to do the job again more than once in the years ahead, you might suggest to him the things you believe made America great. Things like pride. Excuse me. Okay. Things like pride and ambition, willingness to work hard and run lean. Encourage him not to be afraid to compete, to be resourceful and inventive, and to turn in an honest day's work for a fair day's pay. And then remind him why we can't let mobs or men with dishonest intentions run our country, and why his special talents will be needed more than ever before. If we are to win the peace that follows the war and keep America #1, why do these things? Well, the Ben Franklins, Tom Paines, the Nathan Hills don't always come along exactly when you seem to need them the most. Sometimes patriots are in short supply. So maybe we ought to help show our young people the way to get fired up about this country we live in, the United States of America. And if we do the showing, who knows, maybe someday, somewhere in the world, when your young man is asked where he comes from and what he or she stands for, he won't fumble for an answer or hang his head in shame. He'll stand firm, hold his head high, and say, I am an American from the land of the free and the home of the brave. May God bless you all, and thank you. Now, back to the show.
At this time, I'd like to present Jon Cavaiani with a certificate of appreciation. Let you know how much we really enjoy having you here.